Oh, hello, friend. Come, join us by the fire. The story's about to begin.
Welcome back to Fireside Dice. Last time, the group has reunited. They have been on Innistrad for at least a day. We had the B team meet up with Streffen Mauer, the Lord of the Outland Valleys, and Suri found out quite a bit more about her warlock patron. So revelations were had all around, not the least of which being the fact that the team have been framed for the murder of Nassius Ven, the person who originally gave them the job to capture Krenko. Now, as to what happens from there, I guess we get to see. Because I presume we have finished our misadventures, have we not?
I think so.
I believe
we
so.
have decided to leave. And I think we're going to the Stressed Swindler, right? That's where we're trying to planeswalk to.
At least as close as you can.
Yep.
So, with the planeswalking, I need for all three of you to roll a d20 for me.
Oh boy. There we go.
Actually pull up my character sheet.
Ooh.
It happens now, of course. Natural 20.
Nice.
Suri, you're going to be rolling at disadvantage due to
Oh
reasons.
yes, because of things. That's right. Oh my goodness. My rolls have been amazing today. I got a 19 on the second one, so it's just an 18.
So an 18, a natural 20, and
A 4.
Suri, Bafuur, the two of you go into the Blind Eternities using that Planeswalker spark of yours, and you're focusing on the time that you've been on Ravnica, the crew that you worked with, the capturing of Krenko, and whether it be through your spark itself or just the force of will that you guys have, the two of you arrive very close to the Stressed Swindler. Suri, because that was one of the first places that you found, and Bafuur due to the frankly glorious memories of torturing Krenko there. So the two of you get there, and you are able to arrive very quickly to the Stressed Swindler. Now, Bartholomew, the last bout of combat in the Church of Avacyn on Innistrad, it took a number on you. Seeing the care of a father, wanted what was best for his child, reminded so much for you of the family that you lost, that rather than going back to Ravnica immediately, you end up back at home, standing underneath the tree and looking at the gravestones of your family.
The minute he sees where he's at, he just breaks down crying. He kneels on the ground, hand in his face, just bawling uncontrollably.
As you are kneeling there on the ground, wondering, wishing that it could have happened differently, you can hear the footsteps behind you. Do you turn and look up?
No. He'll take his hand off his face, but he'll stare at his wife's headstone specifically.
You hear a voice behind you that you've not heard in years. Barty, is that you?
He's gonna straighten up a little bit, gonna wipe some tears off of his face, pull out a handkerchief and blow his nose and turn to see who he's talking to.
And it's one of your oldest neighbors, an elderly woman at this point. By the time that you had left, she was late middle-aged, starting to gray, but not like old. And here she is, full silvery hair, and you recognize her.
He tries to put on a brave face, but he still has tears actively falling. And yeah, it's me. I'm home.
I'm sorry about what happened, and where did you go? You've been missing for years.
I went away, somewhere far away from here. And he turns to look at his children's headstone, blows his nose again with the handkerchief. I never thought I'd actually come back.
you need somewhere to stay the night? I know that the manor was burned down.
Yes, that would be wonderful, thank you.
So going over, you spend the night, and do you want to stay all the way through morning, or after taking a long rest, do you want to try and planeswalk again?
I think being back in this place, he's gonna spend the night with her at this lady's home because he needs to recharge his spark. And then he's gonna wait until it's right at sunrise, right as the sun is starting to peek over the horizon and the clouds are turning pink, and he's gonna go back to the tree, and he's gonna spend some more time with his family before he planeswalks back to Ravnica.
And the woman, she offers you breakfast, and declining, just saying that you want to spend a little bit more time with them, she says, okay, I'll be back in a couple of hours, and by the time she comes back, the only thing that is left there are the gravestones, the tree, and the wind blowing through it. It seems as though in the time that you've been on Dominaria, very little has happened on Ravnica, because within a few minutes of Suri and Bafuur arriving at the Stressed Swindler, you find yourself going inside and coming through the front door. Suri, Bafuur, any thoughts as Bartholomew does not immediately arrive?
Belfer's immediate thought would be the Dimir have got him. Like he overshot by like a block and got spotted by a scout, and he's just been captured already.
Siri's thinking that he's more experienced with planeswalking than all of us, so if he didn't come immediately to the Stressed Swindler, he had another plan in mind. Like, that's probably better, honestly. But he should be coming. Yeah.
Are the two of you holding conversation, or are you just like, he got him? No, he's got a plan.
Yeah, I'm just kind of
Sure.
chit-chatting back and forth.
For you in particular, because you think the Dimir have him, you're a man of action. You want to figure out what to do, go right away, and leading in, you're just like, no, we've got to do something, we've got to do it. And just as you start working yourself into a tizzy, Bartholomew walks into the door.
And as he walks in, he tried his best to like clean himself up, blow his nose, make sure that he looks well, but I guess if they want to roll an insight check,
Yeah, that would work.
Balfour rolled a 10 for insight.
Oh my goodness, I got another synthetic 20.
Jeez.
I think that's fitting.
I'm getting so insanely lucky.
I don't want to step on Jens's toes, but I think Suri would pick up on, like, Bartholomew's eyes are kind of puffy, as if he had been crying quite a bit recently.
That sounds appropriate.
Yeah, Suri would probably be able to tell.
Alfred's more distracted, kind of looking behind Bartholomew, kind of seeing if he was followed, trying to see if someone's leading him in, what's going on. He's more worried about the situation at hand rather than
How is
Bart's
he doing?
here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Terribly sorry about that, friends. I didn't mean to get held up.
It's really fine. We're just glad you're safe.
What's the plan then?
We need to go to Vincenzo's address. And Suri pulls out the note that has his address on it.
And you guys are relatively close. It's probably only about 30 minutes a walk.
Yeah,
If you were to take the most direct route, it would take you relatively close to Orsova, the head bank for the Orsov Syndicate. But other than that, it's pretty clear.
What time of day is it?
It is early afternoon. It's slightly overcast, not quite raining, but it looks as though it was about to.
Once Bartholomew kind of realizes, oh, we're going to be passing Orzova, he's going to... Oh, shoot, all of his paper got wrecked, and he hasn't had time to resupply. Is Cynthia there?
Cynthia is available, if you wanted to talk to her.
Okay. Real quick, Cynthia, I know we're not your favorite, but I have a favorite. Do you have just a single extra sheet of paper I could have? I just need a...
You don't have any untoward friends with you, do you?
No. Just the regular... I guess from your point of view, Bafuur here would probably be untoward, but it's just the three of us, no one else.
I've got my eye on this one. Gesturing to Buffer.
Bafuur looks ashamed, almost like he's not ashamed of what he did to make her not like him, but he's ashamed that she doesn't like him in general. He's like just more embarrassed with the fact that she has to treat him like he is like a toddler almost. Like he's gonna get into something if someone doesn't watch him.
I want you, Bafuur, to roll a persuasion check.
4 - 1, 3.
Wow.
You're
Bafuur
embarrassed.
does not aware his emotions on his face.
Yeah, you look more angry than anything.
He's trying so hard to look apologetic, but it just comes out mad.
Cynthia just turns from Bafuur, shakes her head. If you've got an eye on him, then that just means that you need to keep both of them on. However, I can spare a single sheet of parchment for you. And she slides one across the table.
Thank you very much. And he's gonna take a quick minute to write a message for Orpheus, just explaining, Orpheus, I'm very sorry that I didn't return at the time that I said I would to put through the payment for the resurrection. I'm a little indisposed at the moment, but as soon as I am able, I promise I am coming to fulfill my end of the bargain. Signed, Bartholomew. And he's gonna like fold it up, put it in his pocket, and the idea is as we pass Orzova, the first Orzovian guild member he sees, he's gonna flag down and be like, message for Orpheus, and pretend like he's a letter carrier or something. Like,
So, considering that you guys are wanted vigilantes by the Azoria Senate, I need for you guys to make a group stealth check as you leave the Stressed Swindler, making your way towards Vincenzo Serach's house.
This is where my luck is going to end.
Okay.
Yep.
not bad.
Yep.
Uh-oh. I did good that time.
I got a 9.
I got a 7.
And I got an 18.
It's fitting that the foreigners are more easily spotted.
Yeah.
What with the lack of Ravnican garb and the look of uncertainty in their eyes as they're wandering.
I have this really funny picture in my head that as Bartholomew's having the conversation with the Orzovian and handing off the note, in the background of the shot, you see like some Azoria Senate guards like surrounding Suri and Bafuur, and he just turns around and is like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, basically what happens. Like, he peels off as you going by Orzova Bank, and Suri, Bafuur, this is a large open square. You guys do not know how to hide in crowds. And people are giving you a little bit of a berth, and the Azorius catch on to you pretty darn quick at that point. And so yeah, Bartholomew, by the time that you hand off the letter, you turn around, you can see that there is a full arrest being made.
How many of them are there? The guards?
Of the guards, probably about a dozen.
Okay, that's a lot more than 3. Never mind. Is there one that is very clearly the leader?
I want you to roll this could be perception or history, depending on how you describe it.
Probably be history, like thinking back on his experiences with the Azorius and noticing and picking up on some of the vestments that signify rank in the Azorius.
Okay.
So this is plus 10.
Yeah, we'll call that a history.
That's a 16.
16?
Mm-hmm.
There look to be 2 sergeants.
Okay. I'm going to rush over to the group, to the arrest, and I'm going to specifically call out to the sergeants. Excuse me, gentlemen. So glad that we found you. We have actually been looking for you. We recently came into possession of the knowledge that we have been framed for a very heinous crime, and we were hoping to find someone to talk to about it. I want to persuade him that our intention was always to turn ourselves in once we found out what had happened, so that they're a little nicer to us and give us a little more leeway.
Okay, I want you to roll persuasion.
Come on, baby.
I rolled a 2, which makes it a 10.
Whoa!
And he says, "Of course you were. That's why you ran in the first place."
We did not run because we were not there for the crime. We only just found out that people think we did the crime, and so we have been trying to find our way to you. But regardless, you can believe what you want. We're coming with you. I'm sure there's someone within your wonderful Senate who can find the truth.
The truth is always found.
Hint, hint, nod,
As
nod.
to
Zone of
whether or
truth
not-
us, man. Come on. I ain't lying, bro. That was out of character. That
Do
was
you
not
have
Bartholomew.
more to say?
Oh, I do, but I don't think it's for you. You obviously don't care what I have to say. And you're not the one who's going to be passing judgment, so I will withhold my comments until someone who has authority can receive them.
Oof.
I want you to roll intimidation for that.
Oh, sweet. I was sitting there thinking, like, man, if that had been a vicious mockery, that would have been great. Ooh, nice. 25.
25.
Dang.
I rolled a 19.
It seems like your words find some way into his conscience, because he looks at you with a look of absolute incredulity.
I just care into this guy.
Yeah, I want to speak to your manager. Because he is shocked, he is appalled, and as you just hold your hands out, ready for the cuffs, he says, "Not that one. And you are going to be escorted to New Prov."
Not what we were thinking was going to happen, but oh well.
Yeah, Balfour is not enjoying this situation.
Bartholomew, I want you to roll a actually, any of you can roll a perception check if you like.
Of course.
Suri, needless to say, is also quite upset.
I got a 13.
Got a 14.
I also got a 14. My natural is 15.
Suri, you're the only one who would actually recognize what's going on. The other two of you see in the crowd there are some Dimir agents, and one of them makes a gesture towards you and turns and walks away. Suri, you would recognize, though, that this is the vampire that you met with on Innistrad.
What? He's not a vampire. No.
Yeah, he's just a normal human fella doing normal human things.
What did I say? An elf? Yeah, he's an elf.
Elf with a skin condition.
Yeah, and he's very self-conscious about it. Thank you very much.
I guess I'll just lock my eyes onto him as we're walking by.
He just gives you the slightest of nods and makes his way away in the direction that you see that the address is written in.
Okay, that brings me a little bit of comfort. Just a little. Not a lot.
And me and Balfour just generally notice that there are Dimir agents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I probably would say Balfour, even with the perception check, probably doesn't notice them unless unless Bartholomew points him out. Because he's not going to be one to be looking around in the crowd. He's going to be one that's sizing up the guards, trying to figure out a way if they all turn their back, could I hit them all really hard and get away? He's sizing up the captors, not really the crowd. So unless Bartholomew points them out, I would say Balfour probably does not see the agents.
I don't think Bartholomew would say anything because he doesn't want to tip off the Azorius that the Dimir are involved with us in any way.
Having the Dimir involved with you, particularly in the side of the Azorius, it's only one step above having the Rakdos involved. So, continuing on, you are led somewhat gently to New Prov. These 3 massive towers on the eastern side of the 10th district, towering above in the shape of triangles, almost arranged like the Triforce from Legend of Zelda, save instead of a triangle in the center, it is a circle. And you're led into one of these towers, taken into a set of elevators, kept under very close watch the whole time, and are led into a courtroom where you can see there is a sphinx seated up on the stand.
Oh, has Bartholomew ever... He's heard of this sphinx before, right? Is the sphinx pretty common knowledge?
This is not like the head sphinx. This is just
Okay.
a sphinx.
But sphinx
This is
in
not a
general
spirit.
are known. So he would have heard
Yes.
stories about them? Okay.
Yes. And you can see that in the center of the room, in front of like the seating benches, there's a lectern, more of a stand really, that has glowing blue runes hanging about 4 feet in the air all the way around it. Which you can see there are 2 or 3 Vidalkins with their hands out that are holding up a spell.
Can I tell, if I did like an Arcana check, could I piece together what kind of spell this might be?
Yes.
16?
Considering the Azorius mindset and the runes that they use, you're actually able to piece together that this is a verity circle, a zone of truth, as it were.
Okay. Once he like figures out what it is, he's gonna like straight back, very calling back on his noble background with authority and power, is gonna purposefully, without anyone telling him to, step into the circle and look up at the Sphinx.
And the Sphinx looks down at you. This one is eager. Very well. Do you relent to having these spells be put upon you?
Is he asking, am I okay with the zone of truth? And like,
Yes. Is this going to be something that you're going to take a save against, or are you going to choose to fail?
I accept the
And
spell.
be under. So saying that, no saving throw required. You feel a compulsory force upon you to not tell lies.
Okay. And are they pushing Bafuur and Suri into the circle too, or since I was so...
They are actually having them sit down on the benches behind. It seems as though like part of it is for audience, of which there are very few.
Okay.
And there's also like seating for the accused.
So they got sat down in just the general audience instead of the accused seating?
They got sat down in the accused area.
Okay. For a minute there, I was like, oh, cool, they're only blaming Bartholomew.
No, you can see that in like the general audience, there's actually members from just about every guild in terms of representation, which is curious.
Do I recognize any of them?
Not immediately.
Okay.
But there's a couple of humans. There's a Vidalkin. There's the 2 humans immediately that you can recognize. One is in the Orsov Syndicate, and the second is from the Selesnya Conclave. You can see that there's a couple of Vidalkins. One looks like from the Simic Combine, the second from the Izzet Conclave. No, not the
Izzet League.
The Izzet League, yes. Just about every guild is represented, which is pretty remarkable. It seems as though the case of the murder of Nassius Ven has gotten around, and people are seeing where the balance lies in terms of power. Because this was at least a mid-level bureaucrat in the Hall of the Guild Pact. So, having the spell come down upon you, the Sphinx says, my first question to you, what is your full name?
Bartholomew Mordekaiser Avenant.
And Bartholomew Mordekaiser Avenant, you are charged with the murder of Nassius Ven, member of the Hall of the Guild Pact, and under the protection thereof. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Mr. Avenant, an inquisitory force was sent towards your residence in Concordance, where you were seen going in by an agent of the Dimir, yet you were not there. By what means did you escape?
I possess the means to travel anywhere I see fit.
Did you use this means to escape?
Your question implies that I was running away from something. That implication is that I was running away from the scene of the crime that I have been falsely accused of. I was running from something, yes, but it was not from the murder of Nassius Ven.
If not the murder, then what were you running from?
A misunderstanding. I was afraid that I had angered someone very powerful, and I did not want to fall under prey to the consequences of my actions relating to other things.
Would you relent in telling us who it is that you feel you offended?
If it please the court, There are 3 individuals, or rather, individuals and organizations that I was afraid of the most. The first is indeed Nassius Ven. Me and my compatriots had been sent on a mission, on a job, by Nassius, a job that we failed, and were afraid of the consequences of failing. The second is the Dimir Guild. We believed that they were involved in sabotaging and manipulating our mission, and we were afraid of the knowledge that we had obtained through the mission, that it would attract the Dimir's attention. And the third is...
And you hear it that there is an objection, and a Dimir agent stands up in the back and says, "I object." Objection noted. Continue.
The third is a member of the Orzhov, who I made a deal with, but was unable to follow through in the time frame that I had given him.
You're stating that you are afraid of Nassius Ven. Is this a fear that would compel you to commit a murder against him?
No, sir. I try to do everything in my power to avoid conflict and to avoid hurting anyone else around me.
What job were you given by Mr. Ven?
To locate and apprehend the mob boss, Krenko.
And how did you fail in that regard?
After catching him, we became privy to some information that made me question the authority of Nassius Ven and the involvement of the Dimir, and I felt it was simpler and better for myself, as well as many others on this plane, specifically the guildless, that I release Krenko, of which I did.
And as you bring in the guildless, the door opens once again, quite forcefully actually. You can see standing there behind, walking in, is another... You've only ever heard of Vincenzo Serach, but he is a quite powerful guildless person here on Ravnica. You've seen him a couple of times at events, most notably like banquets held by the Orzhov or the Azorius. But he seems to get along well with just about every guild, much like you try to do. And he comes in and, throwing open the doors, says, "I move that the charges be released against these fine people." And the Sphinx looks at him, surprised, but holding composure, and says, "By what evidence do you hold this?" "By the testimony of Nassius Ven."
Bartholomew is just like looking back and forth between Sphinx and Vincenzo, like back and forth, like, what is going on?
"Mr. Avenant, would you release the stand, please?"
I step down, and I assume they want me to sit on the accused bench, so I move over.
They guide you over to the accused bench, and you sit next to your 2 fellows.
Right.
And this benefactor comes in, grips the stand, relents to being questioned, is asked his full name, and gives the name of Vincenzo Serach. And there's a couple of titles that he gives. It's things that you've never really heard of, at least not here on Ravnica. Bartholomew, I'd like you to roll a history check, please.
Oh ho ho. 18.
18. You would recognize a couple of these things that he gives, that they're from Dominaria.
Oh.
He was a graduate of a university there, dealer of antiquities, and he gives a couple of other honors and accolades that are specifically Dominarian. But it doesn't seem to faze the court all that much. In fact, they seem more curious to know what he's talking about than anything.
I'm going to lean over to whichever of my comrades I'm sitting next to, and I'm going to whisper, "Those titles aren't Ravnican." Sit back up, cross my arms and cross one arm and start like stroking my beard.
The questioning goes on, asking about how is it that you have the testimony of Nassius Ven, and he goes on to explain that through the process of questioning, he explains that one of his associates in the Golgari swarm ended up finding the body of Nassius Ven and performed the Speak with Dead ritual that they know. And that in asking questions of Nasius, one of the questions asked was, who is it that murdered him? And while Ven himself did not know posthumously who murdered him, he did know that it was of the Dimir. As such, Serach moves that the charges be placed against House Dimir, and that an inquisition be made, whether that be locally or through the Hall of the Guild Pact, against them, and not against these folk here. Which the court passes, and in so doing, you are moved from the accused back into the aisle if you would like to leave, or you could stay.
Is Vincenzo sticking around, or is he leaving too?
He is led off the stand after his testimony is finished and you are acquitted of charges. And it's after about 45 minutes of the questioning that this happens. It is it's a quick process for D&D purposes. It's a very slow series of events in the game itself.
Okay.
Like, very dry. This is not something that I want to go into, like, in depth.
I'm picturing Bafuur, like, leaning, like, repeatedly banging his head against, like, the railing or the seat in front of us. And Bartholomew's just like, interesting. Oh, wow. Okay.
In all honesty, he's probably asleep.
Yeah, Suri might be leaning on Bafuur or like reading her book.
And as you are led back to the aisle, Vincenzo is standing there, coming just out of the circle, and he says, I got here as soon as I could. Glad I was here in time.
Thank you. We very much appreciate your assistance.
I do what I can. However, that which I do does not come free. If I might talk with you, that would be appreciated.
Bartholomew looks at Bafuur and Suri, see what they think.
Bafuur just kind of gives a shrug and says, "Here we go."
Suri like looks up from her book, like kind of like it's like, oh, is it over? Kind of like look.
Were you two paying attention at all? There was a lot of very valuable information that was just shared.
Bafuur just slowly nods his head, doesn't say anything.
Suri closes her book. She's like, yes, I've got it all written down, and puts it in her bag.
Can I roll insight to see if she actually did write that down?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
Oh man.
Suri, did you write it down, or was that not a thing?
No.
It's a 15.
No, that was most.
I want you to roll deception.
That was merely gazing into the book for eldritch purposes. Oh man, I only got a 5.
Hey, that's what I rolled too.
Yeah, you can add 10 to it.
Yep.
Wait, that's insane.
Yeah, I've got a plus 10 on history and insight.
Is my deception really that low? Oh, okay. It would be in a 7 actually.
Great. So neither of you paid attention.
Now, considering that you're acquitted, would you like to come back with me?
Yeah, sounds good to us. Or I shouldn't say us. Sounds good to me. We do owe you.
As long as there's food involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful.
So, he takes you towards his residence, and as you guys are walking, he says that one of his friends from House Dimir came and told him that you were captured in transit to his place. And he went to New Prov as quickly as he was able.
I have a question. And I understand if you don't want to answer it until we're at your home. Why are the Dimir helping us if they're also the ones that killed Nasius? What do they want?
That is an excellent question. That is better for much more secure spaces, as he says, pointedly looking around at the crowd that you guys are walking through on the streets.
I will withhold questions.
There are other questions that I'm absolutely willing to answer. If you have any, please feel free to ask.
I do have another one, actually, now that you mention it. So you attended insert Dominarian University here?
Yes, actually. It was quite some time ago. However, I find that letting others know of our shared experiences can be quite insightful.
Where is that? It's not a local one, right? It's not. I don't think I recognize the name from here in the 10th district.
No, you would. Not very many people here have heard of it, but from my understanding of your group, at least one of you is aware of it. And considering that you're the one who asked, it's most likely you.
Excellent skills of deduction, sir.
Oh, it's not all that difficult. I mean, looking at your friend here, his garb clearly states that he was a town guard. Although, it's somewhat ruined at this point. And your book, you might want to keep that well hidden.
Offer city guard.
Oh, city, not town. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Anything smaller than Ravnica feels like a town at this point.
Bartholomew's just like, yeah, basically.
Continuing on, he leads you into his residence, provides a full banquet, and after the food is had, the banquet is, there's, once again, members from every single guild. You can notice that some of the others that were in the courtroom seem to be there, as well as there's at least 2 officials from every single guild that are represented here, save the Gruul. Everyone here is well behaved, and after dinner he shakes their hand as they walk out. And as you say, you have some powerful company, he says, the strings of power truly lie in those with connections. And, lucky for you, I am now one of your connections. Now, you're probably wondering why it is that I've helped you out, and what it is that I require of you.
Those are 2 of a long list of questions, yes.
Indeed.
Why don't we start off with your questions then? What I want can wait.
Bartholomew's gonna like sit there, like he opens his mouth to ask a question, but then he stops and looks as if he's like trying to decide which question to ask, and he sits there like that for like a minute.
You seem a tad overwhelmed. Allow me to summarize for you. Yes, I am a planeswalker. Yes, I am aware of each of your planes of origin. In fact, I was originally from Dominaria myself. Now, how I came to Ravnica is a story that would take too long to truly explain. What I want here is order, plain and simple. I want to make sure that the cogs of power remain in balance. In short, I want the Guild Pact to survive. Now you might ask, why don't I just join the Hall of the Guild Pact? Because it is so overwhelming. The amount of laws and bylaws that they have, it keeps their hands tied. And like I said, connections are power. So, I try to maintain good relations with each of the guilds. Save the Gruul clans. They're quite unreasonable. And, with my friendship and support, the Guild Pact remains stable, and my friends remain pleased.
What do you want from us then?
That does become the question. You have skills that some of my friends do not possess. You know exactly what I'm talking about. There are artifacts on more than just this world. What I want is just one of those artifacts to start. And if you want to continue with me, then we can go from there. However, I feel that one artifact from each of you would be sufficient payment for your lives, don't you think? Rather than spending the rest of your days in Azorius prison, they would never let you out. You know this.
Yeah.
What kind of artifacts?
Let's start out with just the first one. This would be called the Otherworld Codex, which, according to my research, is on the plane of Innistrad.
Of course it is.
You really have poor timing, don't you?
I don't know what you mean.
We were
There's a
just
lot of-
there.
Ew.
Not only that, there's a lot of problems on Innistrad at the moment. Worse than usual.
How could it get worse?
When the angels turning against the humans.
Oh, that is worse.
Yeah.
I was able to locate where the approximate location of the Otherworld Atlas would be, and I found it to be in the Outland Valleys under the possession of one Streffen Mauer.
Ah.
Oh.
Come on.
Of course.
I'm not saying that you need to kill him, just get the codex for me. But I take it that you're familiar with him, based on your reaction.
We may have exchanged a few words with the man.
You saved our lives, but you're sending us on essentially what is a suicide mission.
I think the one artifact will be sufficient recompense.
Considering the difficulty, it could be a start.
Why do you want this codex?
The Otherworld Codex tells of planes beyond where it is. The more aberrant-minded researchers on Innistrad tried peeking into the blind eternities and, well, only got that far. However, the Otherworld Codex contains more complex magic than any single one of them were able to put into it, and is able to look into other worlds. As such, it would make finding other such artifacts much easier, and more likely safer, were you to continue working with me.
Why do you want
Book
the
of
artifacts?
books.
Like I said, to help maintain the balance of power.
Does that balance find you at the top?
Power comes in many different forms. The guilds will stay as they are. The Hall of the Guild Pact will remain the de facto ruler. In terms of who's at the top, does that truly matter?
Does it matter to you?
No, so long as the hand that guides is one that is knowledgeable as to what is correct.
Would you happen to have any more knowledge on artifacts hailing specifically from Innistrad?
Are you asking if I would like anything else rather than this Otherworld Codex?
No, just if you would happen to know about any or have any information on any others.
I'm certain there are other artifacts. I've heard tell of one Liliana Vess who possesses an artifact of no small power. However, it's not one that helps me in my goals.
Understandable.
I have a very important question for you now.
Well, then I take it this is a very important answer.
Bacon or sausage?
To which I would respond, pancakes or waffles.
That's fair.
Is there a timeline that you're expecting for us to retrieve this item for you? Or is it just sort of as soon as we are able to?
As soon as you are able. My timeline is quite fluid. And if you find this one to be too difficult, there are others on my list that I might be able to guide you towards. However, the Otherworld Atlas, the others would be much easier to find. I could tell you the planes for the others, but as to where they would be in specific, I wouldn't be able to help you very much.
Do you have any specifics as to where Streffenmauer is keeping the Atlas? Or what kind of means he has employed to keep it in his possession?
He doesn't seem to think that it's all that important. It's just in his library.
That is very good to know.
Do we have a deal?
Do we have a choice?
Always there's a choice.
I don't think I want to face the consequences of disagreeing, so I accept.
Yes, I also agree with not disagreeing.
All heads turn to Bafuur.
Alpha kind of mutters under his breath. He didn't say bacon. Fine, let's go back.
I wish you all the luck. In addition, I will provide a additional friend for your assistance. One that I think might be suited towards skulking, as none of you quite are.
Okay.
She
well,
contains a similar gift to yours.
I would assume so if she's going to Innistrad with us. Is it agreeable with you if we take a day or two here on Ravnica to regain our bearings and recover from the excitement of these past few weeks?
By all means, and when you are ready, do let me know.
And I'm sure the Demir will probably let you know before we do, so.
You seem to think quite highly of me, at least of my information gathering.
There are many ways to learn things.
So, let's see what happens next time as the group recuperates and begins to take on this mission, given to them by a mysterious and hopefully good benefactor.
Emphasis on the hopefully.
Alfred's not convinced whether or not he's good.
He didn't say bacon.
No, he didn't even say sausage. I would have found both answers acceptable, given if he would have defended them properly. But he's slippery, and he gave a completely separate answer that I didn't ask for.
No, he answered
There's-
the question.
there's-
The question.
Yeah, there's no trust there. Bafuur does not trust him, and he's not sure if he likes him yet or not. But
He did set y'all free from Azoria's imprisonment.
that's the only reason Bafuur's even considering this.
Thank you all for joining us in this episode of Fireside Dice. This podcast is produced by Realms of Roleplaying, and all music used in this program was produced by Alexander Nakarada of Serpent Sound Studios. We'll see you all in the next episode. Forget the color pie. Bacon or sausage?
What is your preferred breakfast alignment?
I like lunch foods for breakfast.
Oh, okay. I see.
Okay, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we cannot be friends anymore.
No.
I mean, unless we're
Breakfast
thinking
for dinner.
Pizza is a sufficiently acceptable
Oh,
lunch food for breakfast.
pizza. Oh yeah.
That is acceptable. Like the day-old pizza that you got from the night before, that's fine.
Good stuff.